Hello guys, welcome back. I am coming to you from the future here. Welcome to a new reading vlog. I hope that you guys enjoy this. I am going to be reading a really hyped up and popular book right now. I finally got my hands on it from the library. It took a while for it to come in, but I was finally able to get my hands on Fourth Wing. I'm really excited. When I'm filming this clip, I've actually already read it. So you'll see my journey throughout real time. What I thought, you'll hear my thoughts, my theories, conspiracies, my feelings. I cried with this book. I laughed. There were parts that I enjoyed. I spent a lot of it theory crafting and having my own ideas and assumptions of what was going on. And so yeah, I really enjoyed making this video. I hope you guys enjoy it. And so we're going to go back about a week to when I started this. Good morning guys. So I have my coffee here. I have my Kindle. I've been reading Fourth Wing. I'm currently 54 pages in. I'm on chapter 5. It's already been pretty interesting. The book takes off pretty quickly. The pacing seems to be pretty quick. So the book starts off. So we meet the female main character, Violet Sorrengail, and she has been forced to attend dragon riding school. This is basically half dragon riding, half military school. And her mom is a general, so her mom expects her children to just immediately fall in line and go to this school with no arguments. They can't decide what they want to do for themselves. Violet actually wants to be a scribe. She wants to. A scribe is kind of a historian, kind of a librarian, that type of thing. And that's what she wants to do. That's what she's passionate about. That's what she's spent the last several years as an apprentice kind of. But her mom basically says, no way, that's not going to happen. No child of mine is going to go into that. And we discovered that Violet has a chronic illness, and so she has a hard time walking. She is in pain a lot. This school is, because it's also military and you're also going to be potentially riding a dragon, it is very physical. There are a lot of competitions and tests. In order to even join the school, you have to pass this test where you cross this very small bridge between towers high up, and if you fall, you die. There's no failing. It's not you fall off and you just fail and you don't get to go to the school. No, if you fall off, you literally die. And I think it ends up being 50 something kids who end up dying. And this is just part of this world. It's just normal. And Violet's mother has willingly put her into this, knowing that she's disabled and kind of ignoring that part of it and forcing her into this school anyways, and she has to do this test in order to get into the school. So one of the first things we see is Violet arguing with her mother, and then her sister comes, and the sister's arguing with the mother as well, but the mom holds firm and is you're my daughter, I'm a general, you're not going to make me look bad. Basically, you're going to uphold the family name, and you're going to join the school. And then you see her actually take this test on conscription day, and while there, she meets some friends. She meets a boy who actually ends up dying, and she also runs into two different boys who want to kill her. One is a older boy who, I want to say her mom ordered his father's death, and so now the boy holds her responsible, or is gonna seek revenge by harming Violet. But I'm pretty sure he's gonna end up being a love interest. And then the second boy is in her group. Yeah, it's definitely, like I said, not just educational, academic, where they're sitting in classrooms. It's very physical, it is very demanding, and it's very dangerous. They know that most of the kids in the classes are not going to make it through the whole year of training. She runs into a childhood friend who their parents were assigned at the same military post, and they grew up together. And he is now a wing leader. So I think that there is going to end up being some kind of love triangle between the three. I do like that it's not so far at least, it hasn't been insta love. It seems between Violet and, is it Damon? I can't remember his name, but her childhood friend, They also obviously have a backstory. They know each other. They grew up together. He is trying to protect her. He tries to tell her, I think it's in like chapter 3, that he tells her that he's going to contact her mom. He's going to try to get her out because she shouldn't be there. He doesn't want her to die. So I enjoy that they have a backstory. And then Violet and Xaden, I think it is. I could be totally wrong about that name though. They kind of have a history as well because her mom killed his dad. They haven't just like instantly like fallen for each other either. I think it's gonna be more like an enemies to lovers type thing. We'll see where it goes. I'm not 100% sure if that's what happens, but I think that's what ends up happening, is that there's kind of a love triangle between the three. So about the dragons, just because they pass the first year of being a cadet, I think they call it, doesn't automatically mean that they get to ride dragons. The dragon has to choose the rider. So they could get through this whole year, survive everything to the end, and get to like, I don't know if it's like a bonding day where they meet the dragons, and then the dragons will pick certain people. If the dragon deems you too weak, or like you have some kind of like failure, then a dragon won't choose you. And if you don't get chosen, then you're screwed basically, and you did that whole year for nothing. So much of what they do is like, there's no failure. It's like either you pass and survive or you die. So I honestly kind of expected it to be that if a dragon doesn't choose you and you're not bonded, then you're killed. But apparently they give you the option to repeat the year. So I think Violet is going to have a lot of people like gunning for her, especially now that they know that she's the general's daughter. So I'm interested to see how the dragons are really going to play into it. Like, are they, obviously if they bond and they choose the rider, then they must be somewhat like intelligent. They're not just like animals, you know, they must have some kind of like consciousness and intelligence. I think the point is that a dragon will bond with her and choose her despite her disability, which I like. So we'll see how that all ends up going. So yeah, I'm like 54 pages in, like I said. I'm gonna keep reading today, and then I will check back when I have an update. Morning guys. So I read a little bit more of Fourth Wing last night on chapter 6, and now this book is crazy. This school is crazy. They basically have like no rules. These kids can, like these cadets or trainees or whatever, can basically do whatever they want. Not the one who I think is going to be the love interest, but a different kid. The one who tried to kill her the first time. Is sparring with the kid and literally snaps his neck. Like intentionally, on purpose, snaps his neck and kills him. And there's like no consequences, no repercussions. You guys, I am loving the dynamic between Xaden and Violet. Back when Xaden caught Violet eavesdropping on his little group of people in the middle of the night, he tells her that basically she needs to stand up for herself, and she keeps letting Jack bully her, and she's trying to take like the high ground and just kind of ignore him. But as we know with bullies, if you ignore them, they usually don't go away. But if you stand up to them, most of the time a bully is just a coward, and they will like realize like, oh shit, I can't bully this person, and they'll leave you alone. And when Jack is like making fun of her and like threatening her in the gym, she turns around and throws 2 daggers at him, and one like clips his ear and lands in the wall behind him, and the other lands just below his crotch, inches away from his crotch, and he freaks out. You can tell he's angry, but you can also, she says you can also see like the blood like rushes from his face, and you can see the fear in his face. So like any coward, he's really just afraid and has to use anger and violence and, you know, humiliation to take the focus off of him. Dane hasn't so much come out and say it in those words, but he's insinuating it. Like, why are you provoking him? He could kill you. He could hurt you. Why are you putting yourself in danger? Just lay low. He tells her, like, not to answer any questions in class. Don't make herself the center of attention. But in doing so, she's painting an even bigger target on her back, because they think she's weak. And Xaden is like, fuck that. Show them that you're not weak. And I just love that. I love the dynamic between the two of them. And the difference between Dane and Xaden, which I think is going to come into play more as we go on. Okay, so it's a little while later. I'm like 15% in now. I am not usually one for like slow burn romance. I don't really love like love triangles either. I'm more of a like why choose kind of girl, but also the like slow burn tension, but like flirtiness laced with a little bit of violence. My thing is, I don't like long, slow, drawn out slow burn, but slow burn where they can keep up the tension, and where the two people hate each other, but the flirtiness and the like repressed sexual tension keeps ramping up is like perfect. Hey guys, so it's Saturday now. I didn't get to finish talking yesterday. So we're talking about Xaden. So his designation, his power that he kind of gets from his dragon is shadow wielding, like eavesdropping on the cadets. And he has nothing to worry about because all she overhears is the older cadets helping out the young ones and like answering their questions and like telling them not to be afraid and all that kind of stuff. They're not actually like plotting anything, at least not at that moment. And so he has an opportunity to kill her at this point, and he doesn't. He's flirty. There's a lot of like already like tension, but they don't want to acknowledge it. They're both already kind of flirty, but they both are like ignoring the fact that they're being flirty. He like asked her not to tell anyone about the meetup because they could all technically be killed for it because it's against the law, like I said, for 3 or more of them to be in a group at one time. Yeah, there was one girl that tried to stab Violet earlier in the book, and ends up like dislocating her shoulder and stuff. Imogen is her name. I didn't like her at first, and I feel like this whole marked kids thing is going to come back at some point, like the kids of the rebellion. It's going to come back at some point. I didn't like her at first, but seeing all of them together in a group, I think they're just kind of looking out for each other and trying to help each other. And I'm sure being marked as kids of rebels probably paints a target on their back, makes it so that nobody trusts them. They don't have a choice but to be there. They didn't, choose this. They're forced to conscript. So I could understand them being angry and not wanting to get along as much with the other kids or the other kids bullying them. Okay, so I'm like 17% in now. It's already clear that Xaden is going to be one of the few people who like doesn't underestimate Violet and doesn't like allow her to use her disability as an excuse and is able to look past her disability, while everybody else is like putting her down and showing how she's weak and she is tiny and she's never going to make it and she's going to be like the weakest link of the wing and all that. He's telling her how strong and violent she is, and in most cases being violent isn't a good thing, but in this world you kind of have to be violent in order to survive. One, with all the other kids trying to kill each other, and two, with the dragons. Like, if she was just soft and like afraid all the time, then she would most likely end up dying either through training somehow, or the dragons would just kill her off themselves. If the dragons deem that you don't have like any redeeming qualities and you're just constantly afraid you're not going to make it as a rider, they just kill you right off the bat. They're like weeding out the chaff basically and weeding out the weak from the strong. So it's definitely like survival of the fittest, and he is the only person telling Violet that she has what it takes to be a rider, and I am loving that already. And I love that he is reminding her of that, because violence is not like inherently in her nature, which has come to play, which I'm going to talk about. She's not a naturally violent person, but she's having to be, and having to go against her nature in order to survive. And I think when Xaden calls her that, it's like a subtle reminder of that, and I love that, because she is small. She has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, I think is how you say it, which means that her like joints are very like malleable and breakable and strain and break easily. So she's literally like breakable. And this is obviously not the best place to have this syndrome, which is why they consider her like the weakest, and everybody just assumes that she needs to just be killed and picked off because she'll never survive. And even if she does survive, they don't think the dragon. So Violet realizes that she needs to get creative in order to win these challenges. She's not going to be able to win by brute strength. All of her classmates are a lot stronger than her. They obviously don't have this condition that she does. So she's working with what she has and what she knows. And because she was originally trained as a scribe, she's very intelligent and she has a lot of like critical thinking skills. And so she realizes that she's gonna, like I said, she's gonna have to get creative about it and figure out how she can win. And she realizes that if it's okay for her other like classmates, competitors to do what they need to do to win, then it's okay for her to do that as well and kind of twist things to fit her world and her narrative and her experience and what she needs. And so she starts poisoning her classmates, but she gives them enough to make them like throw up or to cause them to not feel good or be dizzy or whatever, enough to give her a slight advantage, enough that she can win. And so it goes like on that way for like several weeks, maybe even a couple months of Violet poisoning her classmates, which I love, like the ingenuity, the fact that she's willing to not give up, she's going to push through and she's going to do what she needs to do to win. Like, she's in this situation unwillingly, involuntarily, because her mom forced her, and this isn't what she wanted for her life. But now that she's here, she's going to do what she needs to do to survive. She's not going to let herself be killed off just because she's seen as weak. So I love that. So it's probably my last update until tonight, probably. Okay, so it's Sunday now. I am like 22% into fourth wing, so I haven't got much further. And then like the best thing happened. So I mentioned that Violet has been like poisoning her challengers anytime they have to go to the mat, because she knows she needs to like tweak their like strengths a little bit so she can win, or otherwise she's never going to win and they're going to end up killing her. And so it turns out that the opponent that she was supposed to fight, she ends up giving them the like mushroom or whatever it is too early, and they end up getting so sick that they can't walk. So they tell that person that they can't fight and send them to like the infirmary. And so Violet is kind of tries to be like, oh, too bad, I can't fight today, you know, I'll have to wait till next week, you know, and tries to push it off. But Xaden steps up and is like, I'll fight her, and like offers to volunteer to be her sparring partner. And immediately Violet's like, oh shit, you know, what did I get myself into? Because Xaden is like the top fighter in the school and like super powerful, and she is one of the few people who knows that he can wield shadows. So, and I love this scene because I love the like juxtaposition of Xaden like taking Violet to her ass and like beating her in the challenge, but doing it in a manner that he like doesn't hurt her, and he's making sure that like he keeps her safe. And then he confronts her about the poison. He knows that she's been poisoning the other kids. And he ends up telling her like basically tells her like it's a smart idea of her to do that, but then also tells her like, oh, I've known better potions masters, like my advice, make it a little less obvious. And so she's freaking out thinking that he's going to tell on her, but really he's like encouraging it and basically telling her like, you're being too obvious about it, which I loved. I love that whole scene. But there's this like tension between them, and you can tell that there's a chemistry between them. And Violet is like telling herself like, no, you can't be attracted to him, like trying to ward off the feelings, and like it's in denial about the sexual tension between them. Okay, so plot twist. I hate Dane. I cannot stand him. I cannot stand Dane. He is absolutely like, this is definitely like Tamlin and Rhys vibes. Dane is he belittles Violet. All he does is focus on her illness. He like cannot see past it. That's all he ever talks about, all he ever brings up. After Violet and Xaden fight on the mat, why are you fighting with him? You could get injured, blah blah. And like, I get he's trying to protect her, but in protecting her, he's belittling her. And like I said, he doesn't see her as a person. All he sees is this illness. And not once this whole time has he like been supportive or been a cheerleader for her. And already Xaden has supported her more. Like flat out tells her Dane is holding her back. And then tells Dane, so Xaden is the wing leader and Dane is the like squad leader. So Xaden runs their whole squad and is in charge of everything. As a student, he's like just below the teachers. Dane is like a couple people below him and is like in charge of their specific group when Xaden is at the top of everything. And so Xaden tells Dane, how about instead of trying to protect her, you teach her how to protect herself, and you instruct her instead of just trying to like hide her behind you and keep her from getting injured. And I loved that. And Violet stood up for herself too, which I loved. But she's definitely stuck in the middle between trying to remember that Dane is her best friend and he's trying to protect her, and then between Xaden, who is trying to help her like overcome her not her shortcomings, but like overcome her weaknesses and strengthen herself. And I can see those tendencies coming out in Dane, and I know that's just going to progress, and I am not liking it. Keep going, and then I will come back and talk to you guys a little bit. You guys, I cannot stand Dane. So I was intending to read longer before coming back to update again, but I had to. So right after the sparring with Xaden leaves, and Dane pulls Violet aside, and first of all, he keeps touching her, and he had told her previously that he can read people's memories and like take their memories and see them by touching them. Like, he just has to touch them, and he keeps touching her, and like, I know they're best friends, they've known each other for years, and they probably just have like an affectionate relationship. And there's also kind of tension between, like, sexual tension between them as well. But I feel like he might be like covertly seeing her memories and seeing everything she's experiencing, and she doesn't realize it. I think he can take the memories of the person without them realizing it's happening. And I really feel like he is seeing everything that is going on with Violet and all of her memories, and she doesn't know it. And it is driving me nuts. Like, I want her to be like, don't touch me, which she kind of does, because he tells her, I spoke to Professor Markham, who is the professor of like the scribes, and he said he'll take you into the scribe school, and he won't tell your mom, so you can run away. You can be done with this and you can run away. And she's like, what do you mean run away? Like, I'm here, I've been fighting, I've been winning, I've been doing good, I've been growing. What do you mean run away? And he's like, he tells her basically that like she, her illness is gonna hold her back, and she's so breakable and she's so weak, basically. And again, he keeps belittling her and just telling her all the things that she cannot do, and is basically telling her that in his mind there's no way that she's gonna win, there's no way that she's gonna survive, that she's gonna die. And then he goes into this, like, he can't fathom the fact that she could possibly be strong enough to get through, and it drives me crazy. And then he goes on this like monologue about how if she dies, he's gonna have to watch, and how hard it's gonna be for him, and how difficult it'll be for him, and he's gonna have to move on. And what am I gonna do when I have to watch you die? Like, you need to leave for me so that I don't have to watch you die. This is about you, but I'm gonna be the one who's dead. Like, it drives me nuts. And Violet like tells him off, thank God. She says, I'm not a damn liability, which I love. And she tells him, like, basically what I just said, like, you keep putting me down, you're not supporting me the way you should. Dane's right, or like Xaden was right, you should be instructing me and showing me how to win. If you don't think I'm strong enough now, then you should be showing me how to be strong enough. And basically calls him out. And it made me so mad. Like, it's one thing, it's bad enough that he already doesn't think she's gonna succeed, and he's already automatically just assuming that she's gonna die. But then to turn around and flip it and make it about him, and I'm gonna have to watch my best friend die. You're there too, she could have to watch you die, you're not worried about that. Like, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's like genuinely just lets that fear overtake him, like kind of like how Tamlin did in Akatar. Just that fear. He didn't know how to process it and deal with it and like turn it into action without it becoming like anger and controlling. Or if he's like actually jealous of her, if he was worried that she's going to end up getting like a higher power than him, or maybe he's actually bad, maybe he's actually the villain. Like, after Tamlin popping up with the King of Fireborne, I don't trust anybody. I'm thinking, is Dane going to end up being a traitor? Could it be that he is working with... So there's another like group of people, I've talked about this, there's another group of people who ride griffins, I think it is, yeah, griffins, which are kind of like dragons, but not exactly the same. And they keep attacking this land. I'm wondering if he actually works for them, and maybe he's trying to stop her because he knows how strong she's gonna end up being. Yes. So it is a few hours later. It's still Sunday. We came home early because the hurricane that's supposed to be hitting California, Hurricane Hillary, we're gonna get like the residuals of that, so we're supposed to get bad weather. So we decided to we were gonna go to the movies, but instead we decided to just grab lunch, run some errands we needed to run. We went to Trader Joe's, which I was excited about. Looking forward to my lunches this week. And then we decided to just come home and hang out and relax, because we didn't want to get stuck out in bad weather. We decided to come home early. I came upstairs to start getting my vlog edited, this vlog edited, all that. And I definitely didn't mind coming home early because it means I get to read, which I did do. So I read, my screen turned off, but read more of Fourth Wing on my Kindle. So after being at the school for so long, there is a challenge called the Gauntlet. And it's basically like, they have to scale this like cliff that has different obstacle courses. It reminds me of like American Ninja Warrior almost, with like the different obstacles, and they have to pass them. Each obstacle pertains to something that a rider will need to do, and it's like a way to show that you can do that thing. So like one of them is having to jump over these like barrel or like these spinning wheel things, and another is like having to climb like a sheer rock face. Another is having to like run up a ramp. I think the ramp, actually, if you've watched American Ninja, is like the ramp where they have to go up at like a 90-degree angle and try to grab onto the ledge and pull themselves up. And Violet has been practicing on this. They get to practice on the Gauntlet like for the first few months or something before they actually have to do it. And this is how they reach the flight field where the dragons are. And this is where they're gonna meet the dragons for the first time. And if you don't get up the Gauntlet, there's no trying again. There's no nothing. If you don't get up it, you're done. Like, and you're not just done. Like, you either get up it and you meet the dragons or you die. Like, there's no like failure. Again, there's no compromise. Either you do it or you die. And Violet has not been able to get up at this ramp part because she's too short and she can't reach, which I totally empathize with and can relate. And that's the thing that I think people, like, it's crazy to me that people will think that people with disabilities like this are, that people will think that the people with disabilities like this are the weakest, or the weakest link, or they're the ones that are going to get everybody killed. People keep telling her that she's the weakest link. She's because the wing like works together, and you're only as strong as your weakest link, and so they're gonna get hurt. She's gonna get them all killed, and that's what people keep telling her. And she keeps pushing past those thoughts and past those things. And what's crazy to me is that people don't realize that people have chronic illnesses like this, especially one like this, are in constant pain, like constant pain, and to have to push through that pain in normal life, in everyday life, in reality, I can't even imagine having to do that in a situation like this, where you're training, where you're doing things that you didn't think you were going to be doing. Remember, Violet didn't want to do this. She wanted to be a scribe. And she's pushed herself past all those things while dealing with the pain. To me, that makes the strongest person. That tells you who is the strongest person, who has the most drive, the most determination, who is the most likely to be able to block everything else out and block all the pain and compartmentalize and still do what needs to be done. That is the kind of person you want as a leader. That is not the weakest link. And Xaden sees that, and you can tell that Xaden is pushing Violet to see that in herself. So yeah, Violet has been trying to get up this wall, trying to make this work, and she can't. And Xaden finally tells her one time when they're talking, like, the right way isn't always the only way, because there's a lot of really strict rules on this gauntlet, and certain things that they can and cannot do. And there's like ropes throughout that you can use to pull yourself up, but if you use a rope instead of, like, you can use a rope to go around one of the obstacles, but if you use a rope, you get yourself a 30-second penalty, and the wing that goes up the quickest like wins the thing, and then the last, they're the ones that are like that determines your presentation in front of the dragons, and so they don't want to be last. So Violet has not been able to make it up this thing, and so like I said, Xaden tells her the right way isn't always the only way. So she comes up with a plan what she's gonna do. You guys, I was in the car driving, or Nick was driving, I was reading in the passenger seat. I was so mad, so mad. He's like, what is wrong with you? Because I was like this in the car and like furiously typing my notes on my phone because I was so mad. So they're on their way to the gauntlet, and fucking Dane comes up to Violet when she's already like nervous, already distracted, trying to be in the right mindset, and makes it all about him again and how he can't do this, he can't see her die. He just automatically assumes that she's not gonna make it and that she's gonna die. And she tells him, like, I can't just, like, he tells her, this is your last chance. You need to go to the scribes. Run away now. Don't even go to the color. Run away now. They'll let you in. Like, by the time your mom finds out, you'll already be there to be done, whatever. And she's like, first of all, my mom is just gonna drag my ass right back. And she tells him, like, I need to do this. I need to know that I can do this. Like, I may not survive, but if I run away, then I still may not survive, because I don't know if I can live with myself if I just run away and I don't try to prove myself. She's already changing, because when she first came in after that, like the whole parapet thing when they have to go through the bridge, she was so scared and she didn't want to be there, and she argued so hard with her mom to not be there, and she didn't think she could do it. And you can just see her character growth and her character arc as she grows and starts to believe in herself and gets stronger and builds like muscle, gets stronger physically but also mentally, and conquers her fears. And Dane sees none of that, and so he keeps telling her, like, he literally tells her, run away. And I'm just like, what kind of best friend are you? Like, what kind of squad leader are you? This is how you're leading anybody, let alone your best friend? You flat out don't believe that she can do this. And he like grabs her and again touches her, but grabs her, like is shaking her, telling her, like, you need to change your mind, and is like commanding her to leave, that she needs to change her mind and leave, and is like trying to force her to do this. And she's to like pull away and basically be like, fuck you, I'm gonna do this. And it was such a good scene to see, because he says, I can't watch you do this, like I can't watch you die. And she just says, like as she's going up to start this thing, he says, I can't do this, I can't watch you die. And she like over her shoulder is like, well then close your eyes, and like keeps going. And I fucking love that. Like, she doesn't let him stop her, she doesn't let him talk her out of it. So she gets through the first couple of obstacles. She doesn't need to touch the ropes, and then she gets the obstacle that she keeps missing out on, and she like keeps remembering Xaden's words, saying like the right way isn't the only way. And so she kind of cheats a little bit, and she does finally use the rope to like maneuver her way through the obstacle. She doesn't skip the obstacle, but which is technically like against the rules. And then when she gets to the ramp part, because she knows she's too short, she uses her daggers to like plunge into the cliff face to hold herself, and then kind of use the daggers to like pull herself up. And I fucking love that. I love like the ingenuity, the smarts, and like so much of these like students and her fellow cadets focus on the physical, and like they work harder, not smarter. And Violet is definitely smarter, and actually they talk about that, but Violet is definitely smarter because she's learning that like it's okay to like accommodate her like things in her surroundings for her, because not every person is the same, and that it's okay to think things through logically and with intelligence rather than relying strictly on physicality and brute strength, which I love. And so she gets to the top, and Xander's there, and he tells her like, oh, you won another challenge, congratulations, whatever. And then he sees that she's bleeding because she like ripped open her palms, and he tells her like, you're bleeding, fix it. And like he can't see her bleeding, and I love that. And then there's this whole commotion because one of the other ringleaders from a different wing has a fit saying that she cheated, who's like this girl's like very by the book, and so that she cheated, that they live by the rules or they die by the rules, and she broke the rules, so it shouldn't count. And Violet immediately has an answer back, and is like quotes something in their codex, which is like their rule book. She's like, well, in section whatever, part whatever, it actually says this. And so while it is like frowned upon and it technically is cheating, there's like kind of a loophole. And so she points out the loophole, and Xaden, as the like wing leader of everybody, is the one who like gets to decide like does it count or not. And so he says, Amber, she has a point, like she's right. Yes, it was kind of technically cheating, but there's a loophole, and she is right, and it does count. So that girl, and then of course fucking Dane is also like super by the rules and like lives by the rules, and so he's mad that she like cheated. Like if it's an insult, tells Violet like, you think like a scribe, and she means it like as an insult, like she's focusing more on intelligence and critical stuff than physical stuff. And Violet's just like, thank you, like that's not a, you may think that's a you know, a negative thing. You may have meant it as a negative thing, but I take it as a compliment. And Zayden kind of laughs it off because he's like the same thing, like taking like a scribe, there's nothing wrong with that. Like it's not like being a writer isn't just about the physical side of it. You also need to be able to think. And so he lets her through, and now all of the first years are like, it's presentation day, and so basically all the dragons are lined up. There's like hundreds of dragons, and they're all lined up, and the first years have to follow this path and walk past the dragons and like present themselves to the dragons. And they come upon this dragon who's a little smaller than other dragons, and there's like different types of dragons, and this one is a feather tail, and they're like, there's nothing, like they don't know anything about them. They're very like secretive, but because that one is small and doesn't look like it could even hold a rider, the other kids are immediately like, well, that one should be killed, that one shouldn't live, it's the weakest, it's the smallest, it's going to be a danger, you know, it can't even carry a rider. She's immediately putting that dragon down, and Violet immediately identifies with that dragon because they say the same things about her, and it's the same thing for her, and they immediately assume that just because she's small, she must be weak. And they eventually get to threshing, which is when they don't, like, the first year don't really know that much about threshing. They don't know exactly what happens, but it's when they're like thrown into this field, and they basically walk around and see all the different dragons, and you basically have to hope that one of the dragons picks you, and you just kind of feel like led towards a dragon. And so, like, one of three things could happen. You could either be chosen by a dragon, and you'll like fly away on that dragon to like the next part of threshing day. No dragon will choose you, and then you have to repeat and start the first year all over again. Or third, you get killed. The dragons kill you. So I'm excited to see what's gonna happen. I have a feeling, two things. I think Violet's gonna end up with the feather tail. It would make sense for her to end up with the dragon, who's the smallest, considered the weakest, considered a liability. You know, they're kind of a paired match in that way. But there's also another dragon. I forget what kind of dragon it is, but it's a black dragon, that there's like sentient beings, like they have conscious thought, they make the decisions, they have their own laws, their own rules, they are their own society, and they like deign to let the humans ride them, and they decide who rides them, not anybody else, and they uphold their own laws, and the humans have nothing to do with it. The humans are like a step beneath the dragons, basically. And so there's one dragon whose rider died, and at that point, the dragon can decide if they ever want to take another rider or not. And so this particular dragon, this hasn't come to a threshing, like a choosing, in however many years. But it is now all of a sudden here. And I don't think it's a coincidence that this dragon is all of a sudden here when Violet is here. So I don't know, I feel like she could get the feather tail, but I also feel like there's something with that black dragon. Something's gonna happen with the black dragon. I'm actually really excited that we came home so that I can read more and see what happens with this dragon. And I'm going to finish this book tonight because it is so good. Hey guys, welcome back. So it's Monday now. It's about noon. I am now 70% into Fourth Wing, and I am absolutely loving this book. I did not get to update here yesterday, so I'm going to go through and update my thoughts from where I left off, which was about 30% in to now where I am, 70% in. So much has happened. You know, they're bullies, and they're gonna pick on, and in this case kill, anything that they deem insufficient or they deem weaker than them. And so she hears them talking about going after the dragon, and she had already seen where the dragon was. She could see it from up when she climbed the tree. So she hurries, and she's fast. So she gets to the dragon just before they do, and she's trying to communicate to this dragon. And as she gets up closer to the little dragon, she sees that she's not sure if this dragon's even going to be able to fly. She realizes that this dragon doesn't have claws, probably can't breathe fire, so the dragon isn't going to be able to do much to defend itself. So she puts herself between the dragon and the 3 or 4 guys, and Jack realizes, like, oh, he can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. This is his chance to kill Violet like he's been wanting to, and there's no one around to stop him. They attack her. She throws her dagger at one of the guys and like knocks him out or something. And then Jack, if I'm not mistaken, she hits him in the shoulder with she hits him in the shoulder with a blade, like tearing ligament. And after that, he realizes that he's not going to be able to outright kill her, and he runs away because he's a fucking coward. Walking up to Violet and telling her, like, oh, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill this dragon, and it's illegal to kill dragons. And the dragons could then come and, like, go after him for killing this dragon, but he doesn't care. He says it's a liability to the wing. This dragon can't hold a rider, blah, blah. So, Xaden shows up. But the wing leaders are not allowed to step in between confrontations between students. They want the students to battle it out, basically. Wait out the weak. Whoever was the stronger should be able to kill the other one. So he's not allowed to step in. But he does. He warns her that somebody is, like, coming towards her back. He tells her to watch her back. And they yell at him, like, you're not allowed to step in or whatever. And he says, I'm narrating. And so he kind of loopholes it and helps her. And all of a sudden, the giant ass black dragon lands and shoots out flame and kills so there was 4 guys total with Jack. Jack ran away. She knocked one out. Okay, so actually maybe there was 3. One guy ran away. She knocked one out, and then the black dragon like incinerated the other guy. And the black dragon tells her he can speak to her through the mind, which immediately I was like cheering on the couch last night, because dragons only talk mind to mind to their riders, the people that they're going to choose as a rider. And Violet, she's so like humble, I guess, or like she's so like not sure of herself that it doesn't immediately click. And he tells her like, you should kill him, not leave him unconscious. And she's like, no, I can't kill the man who's unconscious, who can't defend himself. So the black dragon lets her leave him there. Xaden leaves, and the black dragon tells her, like, you're my rider. And so she hops on his back. His name is ɪṛn, I think is how you say it. And he is the, like, most badass, well-respected, like, leader of the dragons, basically. And he has, like, infinite power. And that power, combined with her, like, the core of herself, is what creates her signet and her power. But that doesn't come till later. So I was, like, cheering that she got this dragon. She didn't think she was going to become a rider at all. And her legs aren't strong enough to hold her into the like, seat that they have on the back of the dragons. So she keeps falling off, and he catches her. And most dragons would not do that, because if you can't stay seated, they consider you weak, and they just let you die. If you can't hold your seat, then you don't deserve to be a rider. ɪṛn does not let her die. He grabs her with his claws and, like, keeps her out of the air, or, keeps her from falling. They go to where all the other dragons are gathering, and there is this whole process where they walk up to, like, a scribe, and they tell them their name and their dragon's name. And Violet's mom is there, the general, and she, like, doesn't acknowledge her, doesn't care that her daughter's safe, like, nothing. She is all just, like, cold hard, like, I'm a general, like, no, like, familial, nothing, no love, nothing. She hasn't talked to Violet in months, even though they live in the same place. She shows no relief that her daughter has lived, when all odds said that she would not. So, or that her daughter is not the rider of the most powerful dragon. And that is the thing for Violet, is that she doesn't want to do anything that her mom will be able to brag about, because she knows that her mom doesn't really like her, and her mom didn't think being a scribe and being smart was a good enough thing for her to brag about. She only cares about war and being a rider, being a warrior, killing people. And Violet doesn't want to ascribe to those things, and she doesn't want her mom to be able to brag about her doing those things, which eventually becomes like a block for her. But so Violet goes to the scribe to submit her name and the dragon's name, and her mom still, like, embarrasses her in front of all the generals, in front of everybody, basically, like, to confirm that that dragon really is her dragon, basically kind of insinuating that there's no way that could actually be her dragon. Her own mom does this to her in front of, like, the entire school. And then it turns out that not just ɪṛn, and Darna, I think is how you say it, the smaller gold dragon chose her as well. So she's now bonded to 2 dragons, which has, I think, it never happened. I think she's the first person to ever bond 2 dragons at once. So there's, like, a whole uproar. People say she can't do that. It's never been done before. She's not strong enough, blah, blah. So the dragons fly off because they are their own, like, leadership. The dragons have their own leadership, so they need to go talk about it. And humans don't meddle in dragons, like, laws and things. So basically what the dragons say, go. So the dragons, in this world, the humans are at the mercy of the dragons, not the other way around, which I love. The dragons make the rules. They decide what is allowed and what is not. and they've decided that Violet can keep both dragons. But fucking Dane, while the dragons are off like deliberating, Dane pulls Violet aside again, like bodily grabs her, like drags her aside, and tells her, like doesn't ask her opinion, doesn't congratulate her, nothing. It immediately tells her, you cannot take both dragons. And she's like, yes I can. And he's like, no you cannot. Even if they tell you you can, no you cannot. And she's like, what are you talking about? Yes I can. And he's like, you need to pick the smaller one. So he immediately thinks that she won't be able to control Taryn, the bigger dragon, and that she needs to take the smaller one. Again, doubting her ability after she just fended off 4 men by herself. After she defended the little dragon, she just was chosen by the biggest, baddest fucking dragon. Like, what else does she need to do to prove herself? Especially to him. I mean, she doesn't need to prove herself to him, but like for him to just immediately doubt her and tell her, no, you need to take the small one. Then he has the fucking audacity to say, well, if you take the smaller dragon, she's too small to have a rider. She's too small to see a rider. If you take her, you won't be a rider. You won't be able to be a rider. They'll have to let you be like a teacher. If you can't be a rider, then they'll let you become an instructor. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm a rider. This dragon just picked me. I am a rider. And he's like, no, you can't. And he keeps telling her that she will not do this. You will not do this. You will not pick the big dragon. You will not take both dragons. And what pisses me off is that it's basically like feeding into her fears, which is one of the reasons why I think he's taking her memories, because he keeps saying everything that she's thinking. So then Dane tries to tell her, like, you can't take the black dragon because he is mated to Xaden's dragon. Him and Xaden's dragon, I think her name is Gale. It's like spelled weird, but I think it's pronounced Gale. Are mated dragons, and so they're connected. And if you take this dragon, you're going to be connected to Xaden for the rest of your life. And he tells her Xaden's trying to kill you, and she says, like, he gave that up a long time ago. Like, he has had many opportunities to kill me, and he hasn't. Like, it's complicated. Our dragons are mated now. We're connected, blah, blah. And he keeps telling her, like, then tells her he did it on purpose. He was there, and he wanted you to be chosen by Taryn so that you would be stuck to him, so that he could kill you when he has the opportunity or whatever. And of course Xaden pops up, and what everybody forgets is that Xaden can control the shadows, so I'm pretty sure he can like hide himself in the shadows so that he can spy, again much like Israel. So he like steps out of the shadows basically and is like, what are you accusing me of, you know? Dane is like, well, you were there and you saw what happened, and it's just pure coincidence that the biggest dragon showed up, whatever. And Xaden is like, yes, I was there. I witnessed Violet's bravery, which was admirable, if not fucking stupid, or like something along those lines. But I witnessed her bravery. I witnessed her taking down cadets that were larger than her by herself that were trying to kill her. I witnessed her refusal to back down and like all these things. And like I was on the couch like, yes. And Xaden turns around and is like, well, if you had been there, wouldn't you have broken the rules to save your best friend, the woman you call your best friend? And Jane's like taken aback, and even Violet is like that was kind of below the belt to call him out like that. But in her mind, she knows like he wouldn't break the rules for me. He wouldn't break the rules to save me, even though he calls me his best friend. And at this point, at some point, Dane kisses her. I don't think it's happened yet at this point, but he's kind of made his feelings known. He basically admits that he would not break the rules. Had it been him there, he would not have broken the rules to save her. And he's basically like, I'm sorry, it would have hurt me to see. You know, I would never want anything to happen to you, and it would have hurt me to see you killed, but I couldn't break the rules to save you. And I'm like, I cannot stand him. So they're like arguing back and forth, and eventually Dane leaves, and now Violet has it like thought in her mind, like, did he do this? Did he manipulate it? And Xaden's like, he chose you all on your own. Like, don't listen to his bullshit. Don't let him talk you down. Like, I didn't manipulate anything. He chose you. You think anyone can tell a dragon what to do or can manipulate a dragon into choosing their rider that they're going to be bonded with for the rest of their lives? No, like, he chose you for a reason. time they talk and Xaden comes in, just like tells her the opposite of all the negative thoughts she's having and the opposite of what fucking Dane is telling her. Love it. It's like I'm like cheering him on. I love that the difference in this story is that Xaden and Violet themselves are not like fated mates, you know, like an ACOTAR situation. Their dragons are the ones who are bonded, so they don't have, I mean, I guess in either way you don't really have a choice, but like they really don't have a choice. They can't like go get the dragons, so the forced proximity on top of the like resentment, they still have this kind of lingering hate to love kind of thing, and or love to hate kind of thing, and they're still like bickering, and now they're kind of all bickering because they're all interconnected. I love the twist on the kind of fated mates thing. I love that it's their dragons and not them, because the dragons are bonded. If either of them dies, the other one dies. So like if Violet were to die, it would affect Taran, who could be so heartbroken and sad that his rider has died that he could then die, which would set off a chain reaction to then cause Gale, I think is the dragon's name, to die, which would then kill Xaden. So they're all interconnected, and if any of them dies, they could potentially all die. So just another level of like connectivity between them, and I'm living for it. So of course, Dane chooses, when they're out in front of everyone, to kiss Violet for the first time, after he finds out that she's now tied to Xaden. So this is his way of like staking his claim, and he kisses her, and she realizes that even though she thought she had a crush on him all these years, she feels nothing. There was like no heat, no chemistry in the kiss, and she realizes, so I don't have feelings for him, and she knows in the back of her mind, but I do have feelings for Xaden. And Dane like kisses her in front of everybody to stake his claim, but then it's like, oh no, I can't do this, I can't break the rules. It's frowned upon for a leader to be in a relationship with a cadet or a rider. You know, you're like subordinate to me, and it's frowned upon, it's against the rules, so I can't do this, maybe after graduation. And is trying to be so like holier than thou, and I'm just like, the interesting thing is that Taran himself, the dragon, does not trust Dane. Every time Dane comes, he's mad, he's just growling. He tells Violet to stay away from him. Something's going on with Dane, for sure. I think something's gonna happen. Either he's already bad or he's gonna go bad, something. So something happens that, I forget what it was exactly, but something happens that finally causes Violet to call Dane out and like kind of start the process of cutting ties with him. She tells him like, it's not that you're worried about me, it's that you don't have faith in me. And when she first arrived, he told her something like, this place will like cut away all the bullshit and leave like just the person exposed, and it cuts away everything else and leaves just the core of the person exposed, so you can see who they truly are. And she tells him, throws his words back at him, and says, you know, you have no faith in me, and then says, you're gonna be one of the bullshit things that this place cuts away from me, and then walks away. Hallelujah, like, yes. So after threshing, when the dragons pick the riders, there's a group of kids left called the Unbonded. Those are the ones the dragons didn't pick, who were not killed, and they're the ones who have to repeat first year again. It turns out that they can kill riders, the other first years, and leave that dragon without a rider, in the hopes that that dragon might then pick one of them. It's not guaranteed, might. And because everyone says that the dragons appreciate violence and bloodthirst and all that, a dragon might like that you killed their rider and want to pick you. One of the rules in their codex is that they are protected. The only time they cannot like come after each other is when they're in their rooms asleep. Like sleeping time is when you're most vulnerable. There's a way for you to protect yourself, and they like that is a big rule. Like you cannot attack each other in your sleep. And her room gets broken into, and 7 people come after her. I think they're all men too, I don't remember exactly, but 7 other students come after her to try to kill her, so that then they can get to Taran and hope that Taran will then want them, which I'm 100% can tell you he would not. He would probably kill all of them. So she's asleep. She doesn't know that there are now people in her room, and Taran wakes her up, and he's like, hold him off, Xaden's coming, blah blah, like hold him off long enough for him to come. And one of the people who broke into the room, a girl, she recognizes the girl and realizes how they got in. The girl runs away, One of the guys is the same guy that she let live in the clearing, who was unconscious, that Taryn wanted her to kill and she didn't, is him. He, she manages to kill a couple of the other guys, I think, and then he gets her by the throat, basically, and he's, like, strangling her. And she can hear Taryn in his head. Taryn's freaking out, and a Darren pops in her head and is, like, says something, and all of a sudden Violet freezes time. I was freaking out. I thought it was her power. Like, yes, she has her power. Apparently it wasn't her power. It's Adherna's. So these little feather tails can't control their powers, and they're able to, like, expel them into the rider. Adherna, because she's a feather tail and they're, like, mysterious and not known and nobody really knows why, she actually gives her power to Violet, and her power is being able to stop time. So all of a sudden everything stops. Violet's able to get out of the chokehold, and just before she stopped time, Xaden had, like, kicked the door open and burst through the door, and he's frozen. And she's able to get away and get to Xaden and then kick time back in, because Adherna's little and she can only hold it for so long, for a couple minutes, and then she's, like, knocked out because it takes all her power. And Xaden, like, realizes something happened because she moves so quickly. Like, he was kicking in the door, he could see her being choked, like, in a chokehold, and the next thing he knows, she's standing next to him. And so he looks at them all and he's like, you're all fucking dead. And he uses his shadows to kill all of them. And the one kid, like, at first he doesn't quite see exactly how hurt she is. The one kid is like, she's the weakest link, we need to kill her, that dragon chose wrong, he shouldn't have chosen her, she's a mistake, blah blah. And Xaden's like, dragons don't make mistakes, they chose her for a reason. And I'm like, first of all, if you had to come 7 people against 1, you don't think that person's weak. You don't think you can beat that person if you need 7 people to take on one person who's asleep, who you think is so, like, disabled. Xaden kills them all. Then he realizes, like, the, like, finger marks on her neck, and he's like, and, like, how hurt she is. And he's like, I should have killed him slower, you know. And he takes her through this secret passage to the flight field, to Taryn and Adana, and he gets down on his knees. He kneels in front of her to put her boots on. So Xaden kneels for her, and she's, like, astounded that this, like, man, like, the greatest fighter in the world, like, in the military, like, this huge, powerful man would kneel to her. And it was a great scene. I loved it. So he takes her to her dragons, and that's when she finds out about Adara giving her the power, and that it made her very weak. So after all this, and Violet tells Xaden, I need to tell you something. And Xaden's like, what? Or like, how did this happen? That's what he's asking, like, how did this happen? How did they get into your room? Your door was locked, it's, like, warded or whatever. Like, there's special rules that, like, no one should be able to break into each other's rooms. How did they get in? And so it, like, breaks with her, like, telling her, I need to tell you something, but you're not gonna believe me. And this chapter ends. And then all of a sudden it's the next day. And Violet is telling her people, like, her friends at the breakfast table, what happened. And they're like, but how did that happen? Nobody can get into each other's rooms. They broke the rules. Like, it's illegal to attack when somebody's asleep, which is why it was okay. Which is why it was okay for Xaden to kill 7 kids, because they had broken the rules. They live or they die by their rules, so it was okay for him to kill them. He had also called 2 of his friends, other marked riders, to come, and so they witnessed the whole thing. So he had witnesses as well, so nobody could try to dispute his story. So next thing you know, they're outside at, like, the morning roll call where they list the names of the dead from, like, the day before. And all of a sudden Xaden is on stage, and he's telling, like, the whole school what happened the night before about the attack on Violet. And everybody's already outraged because, again, it's, like, a big offense to attack somebody when they're sleeping, when they're the most defenseless and can't defend themselves. So that's already a big thing. And then he calls up Amber, who is another wing leader, the wing leader who was pissed when Violet used the knives at the gauntlet, who's, like, quoting the rule and all that. He called her up, and he's like, you're the one who let them into her room to kill her. And Dane is standing next to Violet and rounds on her and has a fit and is like, a wing leader would never do that. Like, she's my friend. I'm pretty sure he hooked up with her too. I know her, you don't know her, she would never do that. He tells her, get up there now and dispute what Xaden is saying. He's a liar. Go up there and tell them he's lying. She would never, like a wing leader would never, I know her, she would never do that. And then the Amber girl like steps aside and she's like, you're lying, she tries to lie, you know, you're lying, I haven't done that, I've committed no crime, but these accusations, blah blah. And Dane is like, he's accusing her, you see what he's doing, get up on that stage right now and tell them he's lying. And then he turns to her and goes to grab her face and is like, give me the memory. And she like immediately realizes and steps away, and she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? She's like, I'm not giving you anything. And she says something like, put your hands on me without permission and you'll regret it for the rest of your life, or something like that, something along those lines. And he's like, you know, you should trust me, you need to tell the truth, like you need to let me see it. So she's talking to Taryn in her mind because they can communicate mentally, telepathically. I don't know if I said that, but yeah, they can communicate. And she asks Taryn, like, can you project basically my memory to everybody so that they can see what happened? And Taryn says typically it's like frowned upon. It's never been done because those are considered sacred, like our thoughts together. And she says, like, I give you permission to do it, whatever. So Taryn is able to project her memory to everyone, all the dragons, everyone there. And so it's obviously clear that they're telling the truth, as Xaden and Violet are telling the truth. And Violet rounds on Dane and is like, you call me your best friend, but you don't believe me. You didn't believe me, you believed her over me. Why would you think I would mix something like that up? And you were going to take my memory without even asking. And I didn't even have to really fully question that Xaden would believe me, but I questioned that you would believe me, and you're supposed to be my best friend. And Dane's mad at her. He's mad at her for like projecting her memories and not giving him the memory. Later on, they have this whole conversation about how he's mad at her because she didn't tell him what had happened. She didn't trust him to tell him or to give him the memory. And she's like, you didn't ask. You just went to touch me to take it, and you tried to order me, give me the memory. And he's like tries to fake like he didn't remember. Like, I didn't ask. And she's like, no, you fucking didn't. And so I really, really think that he's taking her memories every time he touches her without her knowing. I really, really do. And he didn't get a chance to do it. He didn't get a chance to touch her and see it. So then, turns out that when Taryn and Gale, the two dragons, Xaden and Violet's dragons, are meeting, they can feel it, and it like ramps up their own emotions, and they're like in heat themselves basically, and they're like going crazy with like lust and desire and like in this fog. And it happens to Violet, and she doesn't know what's happening, and she like runs outside of the castle to try to get like fresh air, and she runs into Xaden, and they're both like feeling the effects of their dragons, and they end up making out and almost hooking up, and it was perfect, like the perfect scene. And eventually Xaden pulls away, and he's like, I don't want to do anything you don't want. And she's like, but I do want it. And he's like, is it you who wants it, or is it your dragon? Like, I don't, like, if this is gonna happen, it's gonna be us, you know, not your emotions being manipulated, which I loved. And then he also tells like, I can't, like, I'm your wing leader, you know. And so ever since that happened, they've been so like flirty, and she keeps trying to convince him to like hook up. Upstairs from lunch now. I didn't get to finish talking about what I was saying earlier. So basically, after Violet gets her dragons, she gets attacked. The girl that let the attackers into her room ends up getting killed. She's burned by Taryn for like putting Violet in danger. And Dane is all pissed off. He's an idiot. And then they have a I forgot what it's called, but it's basically like capture the flag. And Violet's team wins, but she ends up, oh, so the thing too is that the mated dragons, Taryn and Gale, can't be separated for too long, or they like get sick and they could die. Because they won that battle thing, Violet's team gets to fly out to one of like outposts and shadow a group, and it just so happens that they're shadowing Mira, Violet's sister's group. And while they're there, all of a sudden there's an attack, and Mira begs. So the whole thing happens. Xaden shows up because him and Gale can't be away from Violet and Taryn for too long. So he shows up, him and Dane get into it. Mira calls them all out and tells Violet and Dane that they've been best friends for years. They need to get over this bullshit. And she tells Xaden and Dane that they need to stop fighting over Violet and get over it. She tells Dane that he's failing at becoming a leader. If he wants to be a wing leader, which is what Xaden is, after Xaden graduates, then he needs to like get his head out of his ass, basically. And there ends up being an attack on the outpost, and that Mira tells Violet that she can't trust Xaden, that Xaden is could be using this opportunity to like wear her down, and she's like, there's more than one way to kill someone. Even if he doesn't physically kill you, he could like drain you and take away your choice, take away the things you want in life. You know, there's more than one way to hurt someone. And so she puts that like seed of doubt in Violet's brain, but Violet defends Xaden and knows that that is not Xaden, and she feels like he is not doing that to her. And so in the middle of this argument, the attack happens. Mira tells Xaden, you want me to trust you? Then get my sister out of here, because Violet's trying to stay and fight. Mira says, get her out of here. If you want me to trust you, like, protect her. And so they do that. Dane tells Xaden the same thing, like, protect her. And Xaden, like, tells him to fuck off, basically. And so he gives her help. Violet tries to convince him to stay, but he says no. And she says, you know, I'll hate you for this. And he says, I know, but I'd rather you hate me and be alive, basically. So he gets her out. Then the capture the flag thing happens. And as they're flying to get to the flag, wherever it is, fucking Jack goes after Liam, who is Xaden's best friend, who has been, like, Violet's bodyguard for the last however many months, and is now her friend. He goes after him and stabs him. Thankfully, he doesn't kill him. Violet is so pissed that she finally manifests her powers. She's a lightning wielder. She's like Storm from the X-Men. She can manipulate lightning. So she causes lightning to strike the tower that he's on, and it crumbles, and he falls off the tower with like all the rock and stuff. I'm hoping that he's actually dead and he's not gonna like pop up somewhere. Because at some point, like back, I forget exactly when it was. Oh, at one point when Jack and Violet fought on like the mats, he challenged her. He used his powers on her, even though he's not supposed to, because he's a bully and a fucking coward. He had to use his powers on the little girl that he swears is a weakness and swears is such a danger because she can't do anything and couldn't possibly be strong. He has to use his powers on her and can't physically beat her. And his powers are like electricity coursing through your body, kind of, or like he's putting so much power into your body that it feels like you're gonna explode, I guess. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but I'm hoping that didn't like somehow protect him and he's still alive. I hope not. I don't think that's gonna be the case, but is upset that she killed Jack. She's like, I know that he needed to die, that he was evil, and he would have killed so many other people. And he tried to kill Endara, the dragon, who was helpless, and he was an evil person. And she's like, I know he needed to die, but I hate that killing him changes me. It makes me become the person that I never wanted to be. It makes me become the killer that I never wanted to be, and this power makes me that. And Xaden tells her, just because you have more power, just because you gained power today doesn't mean that you lost your agency. You still choose what you do. You still decide who you use this power on, no one else. And so he's like supporting her through it, and she's so upset. And he tells her, like, what do you need? Like, how do you need to like work through this? Hit me if you need to hit me. Like, yell at me if you need to yell at me. And she kisses him, and she tells him, like, make me forget, basically. And so now it seems like they're gonna hook up. So this is like the perfect book for me. It has slow burn, had a little bit of build up, but it's not like 500 pages worth of build up that I don't like. This was like 60% through the book, so this was probably like by the time they actually kind of started flirting, this was probably like 30% of the book worth of build-up. That's good enough for me. I don't need any more than that. It's enough for me to experience the tension and the angst and the like broodiness and the denial of feelings and the like pushing each other away for a little bit of time before they hook up. Perfect. I hate when it drags on too long. I'm like, just get to the point. We know you want to be together, just do it already. I have to finish up some work for the day, and then in about an hour or so, I am going to go and do some more reading. I'm thinking I'm probably going to finish this today. I really want to finish it today. This is definitely going to be a 5-star read. I thought that In the Lives of Puppets was going to end up being my favorite book of the year. This is definitely high up there. I don't know between the two which I would pick, and it's funny because they're like two vastly different books. But yeah, that is it for now. I will check back in later after I have done some more reading. If I end up finishing it, I'll let you guys know then. Hey guys, welcome back. So it is a few days later now. It is Thursday today. I don't know what the date actually is, but it's Thursday. Yes, I'm wearing the same shirt, but I promise I washed it. Today was laundry day. So I'm like 84% into Fourth Wing now, and some shit has gone down. Things have started to go crazy. So I don't remember where I left off talking about, but so Violet has Taryn and Dorna now, her two dragons. Dane is still being a little punk. And then we get to the good stuff. Xaden and Violet finally hook up, but they sleep together. Xaden like tries to warn her and tell her like he's not good for her. And they really shouldn't do this. Kind of tries to fight it off, but eventually he gives in. They sleep together, and then he's telling Violet that like basically they can be friends with benefits. And I love it because usually when that happens, like the girl will just be like, okay, you know, or whatever, when really they'll tell the guy okay just to kind of make things work and like keep them, but inside they like already know that they're falling for the guy. But Violet did not do that. She was like, you can't tell me how to feel. I'm gonna feel what I feel, like, and if you can't get on board and accept your own feelings and you're gonna be like run away from commitment and whatever, then I don't want anything to do with you. And so they kind of keep away from each other sexually for a while. And then finally on, I forget what they call it, but it's basically the anniversary of the day that the betrayer, the great betrayer, Xaden the dad, was killed along with all the other rebels. It's like an Independence Day or like a holiday for them, and they're all celebrating. There's this huge party. Liam escorts Violet to the party, and then she realizes that Xaden is not there because he is mourning the death of his family at this time. And none of the other like marked kids, the rebels kids, none of them are there. So she goes and finds Xaden and she comforts him, and it's really sweet because she like tells him, you know, you have all of these scars on your back from all the 107 kids that you saved, and you take care of everyone around you. You take care of these kids. Who takes care of you? And it was a really beautiful moment. And she takes care of him and she like comforts him, and he ends up finally admitting his feelings. He hasn't like told her he loves her yet, but he says it basically in not so many words, and they are basically now officially together. They are like woken up, well they're interrupted while they're hooking up, and they think that the school is being attacked, but it actually ends up just being their like final like test, their war games, before their final test before graduation. And so Violet is getting ready to go out with her like squad, and Xaden is going off with his as a third year, and this is like their last like hurrah before graduation. And so Violet's really worried because Xaden's leaving, and then all of a sudden Xaden pulls her and says, you're coming with me, you're coming with my group. And Dane has a whole fit and keeps saying like, no you're not, no she's not going with you. And it's like, who the fuck are you? Like who are you to say where she's gonna go or where she's not gonna go? Super annoying. And Xaden basically tells him that like, you don't tell me, you know, what to do, and you don't tell her what to do. And Xaden tells him like, she's 10 times more safe with me than she would be with you. And he gives Violet her credit. Like, he's like, first of all, she wields power, or she wields lightning. She doesn't need anyone to take care of her. And Dane is like pissed because Violet is basically going to be out of his control. And then where I left off was the biggest, like, mind blow moment so far in the book. So they get to, or like they're halfway to wherever it is that they're going, like an outpost for these like pretend war games where they're going to be for 5 days. And they land, and Violet and Xaden are basically hooking up, and they're with all the marked kids, which is really, I love that Violet is so comfortable around them, because really they're the rebels and they're the like betrayers' kids, so she shouldn't feel comfortable around them. But I really have a feeling that they're actually going to be the good ones, and that this whole like government and like the king and all these people are like corrupt, and that really everything, there's been some kind of like indication that everything that has been told to these kids about the betrayal and the rebellion was a lie, and really that something else happened, and Xaden's dad and the rebels were actually trying to like overthrow this corrupt government, and that's why they were killed. Because there's at the beginning of every chapter there's like a paragraph from their codex, or their like their rule book, basically like their constitution, like their version of the constitution. And there's also entries from a journal that Violet's brother Brennan wrote. And at the beginning of one of the chapters, it says something about the rebels making these like egregious claims against the government or whatever, their king, and that they must have been like insane because the things that they said were madness and they are not true, and that they wouldn't even record the things that were said because they were so crazy. So if you're not keeping things in record, usually it's because you're trying to hide something. And so I really think that the rebels were actually the good ones. So they land in this place on the way to the outpost, and Xaden and Violet like go behind like a boulder, and they start hooking up, and all of a sudden there's a woman behind them talking. And at first I thought it was Violet's mom, and I was like, she's gonna kill her. Like when she finds out that she's hooking up with the betrayer's son, she's gonna kill her. But it wasn't her mom, it was a griffin rider. So griffins are part of another like land or another like culture of people, and these are the people that they're fighting in this war against. And so it turns out that Xaden has been working with the other side, but I don't think he's technically like rebelling or doing it in like a malicious way. I think he's actually trying to save people. So I stopped like right when this girl, right when it became clear that this girl and Xaden knew each other. And apparently Xaden wasn't expecting this girl to show up, these two griffin riders to show up. At this point, him and Violet are like actually together. So, and they've like had all these conversations, and they've talked about how much they trust each other, and he tells her he trusts her with his life and all this stuff. So he grabs her by the face and tells her like, if you are ever gonna trust me, this is when I need you to trust me. Like, I'm not like betraying everybody. This is like for a reason. Like, I need you to hear me out. And so that is right where I left off. So I'm gonna try to read some more tonight. I probably could finish it tonight, but I don't want to stay up too late. I'm gonna try to get to bed early tonight, and then maybe I can finish it tomorrow. Because I do have some other vlogs that I want to vlog. So yeah, that's the update for now. It is definitely starting to get good. I'm really excited to see what this whole thing with Xaden's gonna be. I know something's gonna happen with Dane. He is bad. You cannot tell me otherwise. So I will check back in with you guys tomorrow when I wrap her up. In the day now, it's about 2:30. I have read a little bit more of Fourth Wing. I have some coffee. I had said that I wasn't gonna update again until I finished the book, but some stuff has gone down and some of my suspicions have been confirmed, so I had to come on and do a little clip before I forgot. So I think the last thing I talked about was them being sent away for these war games. Violet with him, they meet, I think it's this halfway point, they realize the Griffin Riders. Violet thinks that Xaden has betrayed her. So not only does Violet think that Xaden, as well as all the other kids that she's with, who she realizes she's with a group of, and instantly when that happened, I had a bad feeling that all of these, nobody knew Violet was going with them. Violet wasn't assigned to go with them. Xaden just made the executive decision that she was going to go with them. And I immediately had a bad feeling that that meant something, that they just happened to send this group of kids. So Violet's accusing Xaden of, betrayal and rebellion and all this stuff. And he tells her basically what I've been suspicious of the whole time, that their government and, king and whatever are corrupt, and that there's actually these creatures called vermin. I don't know exactly what they look like, that have been attacking everyone outside of the wards outside of everything the last several generations has been told has been a lie. And actually the truth is that that's why Xaden's dad and all the parents, the rebels, were executed, because they wanted to help the people outside of their borders, help the other country, because people are being slaughtered, and the government of Violet's country are assholes and don't care that other people are being slaughtered as long as they're protected and as long as their wards hold up. And so Violet's learning that everything she ever believed is a lie. So then they, she basically tells Xaden that she's done with him. They fly the rest of the way to this, base where they're supposed to have their portion of these rebel games or war games. And they get there and realize that this, military base, basically, that's supposed to be teaming with, 200 soldiers, is empty. There's a letter there for Xaden, left there for Xaden, saying that it's about the war games. And when he opens it, his, face drains of blood, he pales, and he's like, these are no war games. And he turns on Violet, and he's like, did you tell Dane that I have been coming to this outpost for training? Or for, because he had told her, she asked him, where do you go every time you leave the school? And he told her it was this outpost that they're at. Apparently the leaders at the school had been sending the marked kids here for a while, making them think they were doing some kind of military strategization or whatever. And she's like, no, I didn't tell him. Your secrets are mine. You're the one who keeps secrets, not me. I would tell you if I had told him or whatever. I keep your secrets. And he says, has he touched you? Yeah, has he touched you? Has he taken your memories? And she's like, what are you talking about? He wouldn't do that. And she's like, he wouldn't take my memories without my permission. But she remembers back when the one girl was killed for letting the kids into her room, he tried to touch her and take her memories without her permission. So she, in the back, even as she's saying he wouldn't do that, in her mind she knows he did try to do that. And Xaden is immediately cussing, and he knows what's happened. And she's like, I would know if Dane was taking my memories. And he's like, no, you wouldn't. If he touches you, he takes them without you even knowing it. So it was right on both counts. Not only is the government corrupt, and actually Xaden's parents were probably the ones in the right, but Dane is a fucking asshole and has been taking her memories the whole time. So everything she knew, he knew. And Xaden even asked her, before we left, he whispered something in your ear. What was it? And she said, she had to think about it, and he said, I'm gonna miss you, Violet. So he knew that she was going into some kind of ambush or something, and that's why he fought so hard for her not to go. And that's why he said that Xaden was going to get her killed, because he knew that they were going into an ambush, which is basically what's happening. Leon can see far. I don't remember exactly his powers, but he sees that somebody's coming, that they're being ambushed. I don't know what they're being ambushed by yet, because I stopped, but they're being ambushed. And the last thing that Xaden says, it says, Xaden's face drains of all color, and he crumples the missive in his fist before looking at me. It says, our mission is to survive if we can. So they've been, betrayed. So Violet's in her head thinking, oh gods, Dane read my memories without my permission. He must have told his father to where they've been sneaking off. I've unknowingly betrayed Xaden, betrayed them all. So yes, he's been hiding stuff from her and betrayed her, but she's unknowingly betrayed him as well. And now Dane, and Dane's father, who's a general or something, knows what's been happening. Xaden immediately says, this isn't your fault. Then rips his gaze from mine and turns to his friends who are running down the ramparts to join us. We've been sent here to die. So they've been betrayed. The government, one, assumes they're rebelling, and two, knows that they know the truth of what's going on. So everything that I thought was going to happen has happened. I think also that the dragons knew the truth of what has been going on, because Taryn and Darna keep telling Violet, we chose you for a reason, and we hope you make the right choice. And I think Violet's dad as well. knew the truth, and they keep saying, we hope you make the right choice. So I think they're hoping that she will help the rebels, the marked kids, get the truth out and probably bring down the wards, and help the people outside the borders. I'm assuming that they're going to get through this ambush and probably go help these people, and maybe Violet is going to join the rebellion side. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Doesn't say how far in I am. I'm 86% in, so I'm going to keep reading, try to finish this today, and then I'm going to say for now that I'll update once I'm done, but if anything crazy happens, then I'll probably be back. So I will check in with you guys in a little bit. Shit. Okay, so basically the letter that Xaden received says that this is a test of his command, and he has a choice of either saving the village of their enemy, so basically I think the village that the Griffin Riders told them was under attack, or abandoning command of your wing. So basically Xaden says they're testing our loyalty without actually saying it. So this is their chance to prove, are you going to basically do what we tell you to do and let our enemies die and let people be slaughtered, or are you going to save them and basically show that you're betraying us? So it says, according to the missive, if we leave now, we'll make it to the new location of headquarters for 4th Wing at some name I can't say, in time to carry out our orders for war games. But if we leave the trading post of ɪ봏ᴜ and its occupants will be destroyed. Imogen says by what? Liam says by venom. So basically they're, like I said, gonna let all these people be slaughtered as a test for Xaden and his people. And I don't know if anyone, like I said, knows that Violet is with them. I have a feeling that Violet's mom knows that Dane's been keeping her up on everything, because at one point Xaden told Violet like he wouldn't break the rules to save your life. What makes you think that he's going to break the rules to save mine? Because he knows that if this information comes out, he'll be executed. So now 7 Griffin Riders have shown up to help, and the girl from before is telling Xaden that they should all just leave, and that they're going to try to fight them off, but they all basically know they're going to die, because I guess apparently 2 Venom were powerful enough to like raise an entire city. So she says there's no way we can fight off 4 of them. So they know, the Griffin Riders know they're going to their death, and she's telling them to leave. And so Xaden's telling her, you're going down there to die. And she says yes. And Violet is struggling because she knows that basically what they want is for Xaden to go save the people and prove that he's not really loyal. And now she's kind of stuck in the middle. But she knows that, you know, in the end, I know she's not going to be able to just leave those people. So Violet, we know, is not going to be like her mom and just leave people to die, I'm sure. She says if we leave, they'll all die. Every civilian, every flyer. We won't have killed them, but we'll be complicit in their deaths all the same. If we fight, we'll likely die with them. We can live as cowards or die as riders. And so this is the whole thing, is that this Violet's government and her people don't help anybody outside the wards, which they now are outside the wards. So Xaden says Gale, that's his dragon, says she's never run from a fight, and today will not be the first. And I'm not going to stand by while innocent people are dying either. He shakes his head. But I'm not going to order any of you to join me. I'm responsible for all of you. None of you crossed that parapet because you wanted to. None of you. You crossed it because I made a deal. I'm the one who forced you into the quadrant. So I won't think less of anyone who wants to fly. Instead, make your choice. And then in his mind, because I think I said earlier that him and Violet can speak mind to mind, I don't want you in harm's way. And she says, if the others get to make a choice, then so do I. And Imogen says, we're riders. We defend the defenseless. That's what we do. And so Bodhi, who is Xaden's cousin, says, you saved every single one of us here, and we're thankful. Now I'd like to do what we've trained for. So basically they're all going to go with Xaden and try to fight to save the people. So yeah, I'm going to keep reading, see what happens. I know I keep saying I'm not going to come back, but I want to get my thoughts on camera, and I want to get my like honest reaction. So I will check back in a little bit. This book just made me cry for the first time. Liam just died, and his dragon, and knowing that Violet just accused Liam of betraying her and asking him if they were ever really friends, and then seeing and knowing that he sacrificed himself to save her the way she saved him before, and Xaden coming and getting to say goodbye, broke my heart. I knew somebody was gonna die, but I really hoped it wasn't gonna be him. It's always the good ones. And then he tells Violet to watch out for his little sister when she comes to the school the following year. Broke my heart. I'm sure, I don't know if this will be the only time I'll cry in this book, but I had a feeling it was gonna happen at some point. So now there's like a whole horde of Wyvern and their riders, and Violet's gonna try to use her lightning to fight them off, which pisses me off because the whole time that Liam's dragon was fighting the Wyvern, she didn't do anything. She just held Liam in on Taryn, like strapped in with her, and they just kind of watched. And I get, like, right now she can't control her lightning, but like, fucking do it. Like, figure something out, make it happen. And I know this is like what needs to happen to kick her ass over the hurdle, so that she'll actually start wielding her power the way she needs to, so she'll get that like anger and finally fight back. But it just broke my heart. So yeah, I'm gonna keep reading. We'll see what else happens. Okay guys, it is Sunday night now. It is like 8:30. I have officially finished Fourth Wing. I actually finished it yesterday, but I didn't get to film a clip, so I finished it. The rest of the book basically went down exactly the way I thought it was. I called a lot of it from the beginning, which I don't know if that's really a good thing or a bad thing, but I feel vindicated because so many of the things that I thought were happening were in fact happening. Violet's mom is a bitch and is like, their whole government is shit, which is basically what I expected. And Dane has been reading her memories without her knowing. Liam, I think that's the last thing I showed, was me crying over Liam dying. That was horrible, but I figured somebody was gonna die. I didn't want it to be Liam, but Liam broke my heart. But we got, we lost one character, gained a new one. I knew Brennan was alive. I knew from like the beginning, I knew Violet's mom was a frail lion ass. She knows her son's alive, and she's basically cut him out because he is part of the revolution. And I want to know what happened. I'm so excited for what is it called? Iron Flame, I think is what the second book is called. I want to know what the story is. One, I don't think Mira, their sister, knows that Brennan is alive, and she's much more like entrenched in the military and everything. So I wonder, who knows, maybe she knows that her brother's alive and she's like her mom. She has let the pressure of her mom influence her enough that she doesn't care that the brother's alive. I don't feel like she would have hid that from Violet, but at this point anything could happen. I'm really excited for the second book to find out. I want to know more of Brennan's story. I want to know how this all happened. So, did he manage to get away before he was killed with the other rebels? Or does Violet's mom actually have a heart and she helped her son get away? But if she was able to let him get away and then still killed Xaden's parents, that's terrible. Violet is still trying to forgive Xaden for everything with the venom and all those things, and knowing the truth about everything and not telling her. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen, if she's going to be so happy that her brother's alive that she just kind of lets it go, or is she going to blame Xaden? Is she going to blame basically everyone for not telling her the truth? I'm interested to know if Dane knew that her brother was alive. I think he's kind of behind a lot of things, so I'm interested to see if I end up being right about that also. So yeah, I loved the way the book ended. I don't usually like cliffhangers, but I went into this knowing that this is a series, so I assumed it was gonna kind of be cliffhanger-y. So, but the way it ended with Violet, like right when Violet finds out that Brendan's alive, and him saying like, "Welcome to the revolution," perfect way like to end it. I thought it was really good. And the next book, the new book comes out in like November, so I don't have to wait too long. And I could definitely see myself rereading this. I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's not like the best book I've ever read by any means, but for what it is, it was really good. I definitely gave it 5 stars. I haven't read a book with like dragons in it in a long time. I did read Fireborne, which a lot of people compare it to Fourth Wing, and I actually really liked Fourth Wing more. Fireborne was pretty good, but I definitely think Fourth Wing is better. The only other books that I've read with like dragons in it is The Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini, Aragon, and the other books. And those are one of my all-time favorite series. I read those like once a year. So I don't know. Those are really nostalgic for me, so I don't know if these will compare to those. But it was really good. I enjoyed it. It was a fun reading experience. I'm glad I got to vlog it all. And like I said, while I don't think it's like the best book I've ever read, I think it's definitely worth the hype. So yeah, that is it. That is gonna be it for this reading vlog. Thank you so much for following along with me. I hope you enjoyed this vlog. If you did, please let me know down below what you thought of Fourth Wing, what you thought of Fireborne. Do you know of any other books that are like this type of book, that are like this series? Let me know. Let me know what you thought of Fireborne, like I said, of Fourth Wing, like I said. And stay tuned for more vlogs coming up.